Now, Sports Talk with Broads. Here's Hunter Brody.
What is going on, everyone? Welcome to Sports Talk with Broads. We are broadcasting live from the Manscaped Man Cave. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code BROD at manscaped.com. When I saw the injury report on Friday, I wanted to bite my fist and punch a damn hole in the wall because I was so furious. I figured Lane Johnson was going to be out, and I'm definitely underwhelmed with the right side of this offensive line because Matt Pryor was put on the COVID list. So you have Brown playing right guard and Driscoll playing right tackle, which is definitely a difference maker compared to having Lane there. We all saw the difference in wins and losses and the Eagles' record as a whole when Lane Johnson is in the mix and when he's not in the mix. But I sort of anticipated that was going to be the path for this Eagles team heading into the Baltimore Ravens on Sunday. Where I thought things would be different was with Desean Jackson. And I'm not mad at him. It's hard to be mad at him when there's an injury in play and he's at the age that he's at. It's not his fault that he is banged up and still not playing, but it's about the message. I can't stand this damn message. You're hearing Doug Peterson speak, and he's talking about how, hey, Desean Jackson had a good practice. Desean Jackson looked good out there, and he can't play. The messaging is what bothers me the most, and I even said it. I said it when Desean Jackson was ruled out for the first time. I'm not buying their nonsense. They talk about the hamstring as if it's just precautionary stuff. Week 1, where's Desean Jackson? Limited snaps. We're thinking, what is going on? They're saying they want to make sure that they prolong his season here by putting him on some sort of snap count and things of that nature. I wasn't buying that. I felt something was wrong at the time. I had this gut feeling that there was already problems because that's the way they operate. That's the way the Philadelphia Eagles rock and roll. They put on this smile. They try and sell you a bunch of shit. And I'm not buying it because it's a joke. And I've been through it too many damn times before. Something's not adding up. Something is not adding up with Desean Jackson. I mean, you're telling me that they're saving him for what? What would they be saving him for? You're 1-3-1. You're going up against a phenomenal football team where you're going to need help stretching the field because they have some disgustingly solid secondary players. You're going to need as much speed as possible to take guys over the top so you can maybe open up more in the middle. Because you know what, Travis Fulgham, while 10-152 was an exciting game last week, he did not face a Humphrey. He did not face a Marcus Peters. He did not face this type of secondary. These weapons that the Ravens have, it's a different type of beast. I'm just trying to sit here and go, what the hell would they possibly be waiting for? There's an issue. There's an issue. And then you go back to Howie Roseman, and you think, why in the world would you ever rely on Alshon Jeffery and Desean Jackson to be your guns heading into NFL seasons each week? Right? How does that make sense? These guys are so much older, and you're giving them that much money, and look at the results you are given. With Alshon Jeffery, the PUP list was the conversation. Because if he was put on the PUP list before the season, he'd have to be on there until week 6. And the Eagles thought that there would be a chance that he would be able to play before week 6. And I'm torn because I feel I'm flip-flopping throughout the days. One day I wake up and I'm pissed off that they put him on the actual roster thinking he'd be able to come back. Like you wasted a roster spot on him. And at the other side of it, I think, well, who are they really going to put on there that would have made the difference in their season? They're 1-3-1 for a reason. Is there somebody that they're missing out on that would make them 4-1? Probably not. But they've done this before in the past. They've had these problems before. Darren Sproles comes to mind. It's not like it's just happening one time and it's like, okay, whatever. So they made a mistake and thought Alshon would be back. realistically, from everything that I'm hearing, they did have a good chance of coming back, so they thought it would be worth it to take that shot. And I don't criticize them heavily for, if let's just throw out a hypothetical. You get a 75% chance that that Alshon Jeffery would be able to play week 5. Would you take that opportunity and put him on a roster spot so you can get at least maybe a 75% chance to get him week 5? Like I said, based off of the alternative, I probably would take that shot. So I don't crush him there, but then I see what's happening with Greg Ward and what we saw last year. Then I see what's happening with Travis Fulgham, and I question, well, what if they filled that roster spot with someone you don't really know? Because we didn't know a damn thing about Greg Ward and Travis Fulgham before they had their opportunity and made the most of it. And then we all thought, holy hell, these two can play. Why were they buried so deep into the practice squad? So could that have been a scenario where keeping Alshon Jeffery just forced you to lose out on a Travis Fulgham, Greg Ward type player? Once again, they've made this type of mistake before. Darren Sproles, what is going on? So I am torn on how to feel about the PUP list with Alshon, because they weren't that far off. And look, you don't really know until Alshon Jeffery practices and then you see the reaction to the foot when he practices. I didn't think it was ridiculous to think it was possible that he would play, but it backfired. They didn't get it right. That's reality. That's what I know. They didn't get it right. I don't fault their logic insanely, but I can start seeing the other side. Did you miss out on a Greg Ward and a Fulgham? Did you have to waive other players? And who knows what those other players might be. Whether they're just serviceable guys, whether they just become a role player, whatever. That's the type of move you missed out on throughout the first 6 weeks because you wanted to give Alshon Jeffery a shot, and it ended up backfiring. A lot of money tied up in Desean Jackson and Alshon. The one that really irritates me the most in this game, though, it's Desean. Things are not adding up. You go from the limited snaps early in the season to, hey, we just want to make sure that he's safe and he's ready, and we want to make sure that everything's okay before we throw him back on the field, and we want to make sure that he's available. They want to make sure he's available for this season. Well, guess what, everyone? Everyone involved who's making those decisions. When the Eagles are 2-9-1, I don't give a damn about Desean Jackson. Is that fair to say? When the season's already lost, when they're that much of a dumpster fire, when they barely have any wins throughout, let's say, 13 weeks of the season, 12 weeks of the season, do you think I personally give a damn if Desean Jackson is ready to go out there and compete then? Oh, woohoo! I'm glad that you kept him out, so he'll be good by week 12. That's what I'm saying. It just doesn't make sense. He's clearly been more hurt than you have been leading everybody on. And this is what they do. This is how they operate. So on one hand, we shouldn't be surprised, but on the other, it is frustrating because week after week after week, you're seeing him, you're reading reports, you're hearing Doug Peterson. He had a great day of practice yesterday. And then what? He's ruled out the next day? It's embarrassing. I was thinking when they put out that injury report, how the Philadelphia Eagles have a team of people that operate social media during those times just to see the reaction from everybody, just to see what's going on. Maybe Doug Peterson's checking out how people are reacting, right? I mean, come on, you got to imagine. They're not stupid. They have a PR team that's involved in up in the times on what's going on and making sure everybody's prepared for what the fan base is feeling and things of that nature. I wonder what they do exactly as soon as they hit tweet when it comes to an injury report like that, because that was a fat injury report. That was juicy. There were some other names on there. Duke Riley was on there, and you might laugh and go, well, why does that matter? Well, because that's a linebacker position that Nate Gerry is now going to fulfill those minutes. Not that Duke Riley is anything outstanding, but if you're trying to look for a scenario where Nate Gerry's role is going to subtract and he's going to get less snaps, I just don't know if that is necessarily the case. Now, Will Parks. We've spoke about Will Parks. Will Parks, can he defend the tight end position? Will the Eagles have a better chance at defending someone like Mark Andrews than Nate Gerry? The answer is, yeah, he should. He should be able to do a better job. But if you're looking for a scenario where Nate Gerry is going to be off the field more, I don't know. I don't know if that's necessarily going to be the case, and that's upsetting. Unless they looked at the numbers, which it's not hard to do, by the way, when Nate Gerry is targeted and they realize and they come to conclusion that there's just no way in hell I can continue to put that slop out there consistently. But that hasn't stopped them to this point, right? It's not rocket science. They should have known this for how long? This isn't just a week 6 thing. Like, oh, wow, it's week 6. Hold on a second. Nate Gerry's been getting torched. I mean, come on. Teams have been circling a huge red circle around Nate Gerry since the start of the season. And now you're seeing teams implement all these funky plays to target the linebacking core, to target Nate Gerry specifically, and it's not going anywhere. But hopefully, Will Parks does make a difference. Hopefully, he'll be able to provide something coming off the injury. And on top of that, the conditioning level is something that I need to throw out there because, look, he hasn't played football. He has been banged up. He has not been available. It's not easy to just walk in and then have a task like Mark Andrews in certain situations and just shut him down. But hey, maybe he's hungry enough. Maybe he wants to prove everybody right now. You saw his excitement when he first came here, Philadelphia, right? He had this attitude towards him. He had this swagger about him. Maybe he comes in hungry, and from there, he does his thing. Avonte Maddox out. Marcus Epps out. So I'm just thinking about some secondary pieces. Jalen Mills. Now, Darius Slay is questionable, and the last I saw was from Dave Zangaro that Darius Slay did get cleared from concussion protocol. As long as there's no symptoms this weekend, he should be able to go. So essentially, he did get cleared, but if anything goes in the wrong direction, if any symptoms come up, if there is some sort of regression, well, then he's going to be ruled out. But it does seem good to this point. So what? It looks like we'll have a Darius Slay, hopefully on Hollywood Brown, which can definitely be a big-time help to stop him, and Jalen Mills on the other side. Avonte Maddox still seems to be out, so Roby Coleman and Cravon LeBlanc may be splitting some time in certain spots depending on what they want to throw out there. The thing about Alshon, though, that I forgot to mention, it's pretty weird. So it was last week's injury report. On Thursday, he had an illness, so he didn't practice. And this illness thing is popping up on everybody, right? Illness. And of course, everyone's going to tie that together with COVID-19, but you just don't have enough information to really know. Like, for example, Matt Pryor, he's put on a COVID-19 list, but from all the reports I saw, specifically Jeff McClain, it's not like he has symptoms. It's not like he has tested positive, but based off of tracking, it's okay, let's put him in the COVID-19 list. And, from there, monitor the situation and what is going on. But with the illness, Alshon Jeffery is just listed as illness. And then on Friday, that practice report on Friday before the game on Sunday, he was listed with illness and foot. So was that another scenario that's going crazy? Like, I'm talking about this Desean one, what, right? And it clearly fires me up. Is there something to this Alshon Jeffery story? Because I always thought of it as, all right, I mean, look, the guy's coming back from a Liz Frank injury. Whether you want to believe it or not, it's brutal. It's really brutal, and there's a lot involved, and you don't know how the foot is going to react now that he's getting out on the field and he's practicing. Maybe there's some swelling going on. Maybe there's some pain. It's a big-time injury, and the guy's 30 years old. I just always looked at it as, you know what's going on? This guy is going through an operation that it causes some damage to you, quite frankly. It's not easy to just get it and then return to playing football. You saw what happened to Jalen Mills. You saw what happened with Ben Simmons, although throughout that period for Ben Simmons, it was the tank time. It was the process time. So they milked it out as long as possible so, they can continue to get draft picks and things of that nature. But, you saw what happened with Jalen Mills. The Liz Frank injury is no joke. I've always just been thinking that's what's going on. But I just freaked out thinking about how I don't buy a damn thing that the Eagles are selling us with Desean Jackson. So wouldn't it only be right to maybe, just maybe, question a little more if there's anything happening behind the scenes? I don't know what. I've heard some conspiracy theories out there that Alshon Jeffery might just not want to play. And I feel that that's outrageous. That's to an extreme. With Desean, I can be like, okay, something's not adding up here, right? And you can put some pieces together when he was on a limited snap count so early and then he just hasn't been available at all since then. There's things to add up, but to speculate that he just doesn't want to play football anymore and he wants to steal all of the Eagles' money, I feel that's just going on an extreme. That's just going on a lot of emotions and being so upset that he's not available that you're going to that level. Now, that doesn't mean that it's not possible. Sure, of course it is possible. There has been rumors that, he wasn't maybe the best teammate, and there has been some speculation based off the Josina Anderson stories that he was the one talking about Carson. So I'm not going to act as if that's not a possibility. Of course, Alshon Jeffery could be that type of person. He could be a diva, if you will. That position seems to have a lot of those. But I don't know. I mean, I don't know if I can go there instantly. To me, I'll go down this road first. The dude has a Liz Frank injury, and he's having a tough time getting back on the field. That's where I naturally go with this one, and that's the vibe I'm getting. But look, I'm not throwing the other options out. But the recovery time for this type of situation that he's going through, it's long for a reason. There's a lot of pressure, though, based off of how much money they are making, both of them. And I wonder how things would change if somebody like Travis Fulgham did not become Travis Fulgham. Because right now there's like some excitement. Ooh, what's going on with Travis Fulgham? How's he going to look against this type of secondary? What's going to happen? Now the excitement is to this young kid, this young player that went up and actually grabbed the football and went up and got it at the highest point. It was tremendous. But if there was not that, and this offense was so boring and it was so brutal and it couldn't move the ball, I think the rage towards getting back these players would intensify a bit and they would feel more pressure than they do. But I think at this point, this was the first week. When you saw that injury report, I sensed that there was way more frustration involved with what's happening with these two wide receivers, and probably more towards Desean Jackson, and deservedly so, because we are not getting the proper information. When you don't get the information and we can sniff out that they're trying to sell us a bunch of crap, I think it's fair to get the reaction that the Eagles fans are putting forward, because it makes a lot of sense. We want answers. Give us the answers. If you're honest with us, yes, we're still going to be mad. If you said from the jump, right from the beginning of the season, Desean Jackson's going to miss 6 or 7 weeks. Let's just throw out another hypothetical. We wouldn't be happy about it, but then every single week we wouldn't be sitting here listening to Doug Peterson speak about how great he looked in practice and what he's doing. We would just know, okay, this is what it is. It sucks. It blows. No one wants this, but this is what it is. But we can at least support that. We can accept that. We're not happy about it. We're upset about it, but we can accept it. It's crazy, right? This episode, by the way, is sponsored by Orbit Energy and Power, and with over 20 years of experience in the industry, they are home to your solar experts in both residential and commercial projects. Their solar program helps eliminate your electric bill completely. $0 electric bills. They also provide water purification systems, backup energy services, battery storage, and more. So make sure you check out their information down below. Also, there have been people who have been reaching out to me. Bros, how can I help? How can I support the channel? And I always go, just listen, man. Just listen, react, do what you've been doing. That's enough for me. That's enough. Just enjoy the content like you always have been, and I'm a happy man. And they say, I want to do more. Well, I opened up some memberships for Sports Talk with Bros. You can go to my YouTube channel, hit the join button. There's a couple different tiers involved where, you get a reward for joining these tiers, whether it's being able to send yourself a video. Send a video of yourself to me, and I will add that to the YouTube podcast. So you will be seen. You can talk about the Eagles. You can ask a question. You have that. There's hangouts with myself via Zoom or YouTube live stream. You could send in podcast ideas. So make sure you go check out the tiers if you want to go down that road. So thank you everyone so much for all the support to this point. It blows my mind every single week I do this. I'm just like, wow, this is incredible. Thank you all so much. So getting back to this game, it is definitely annoying thinking about the scenario, and I thought they were going to get destroyed anyway. The Eagles, that is, of course. I thought that they were going to lose. What did I predict them? 34-20, so that's a cover by the Baltimore Ravens. It's up to, 9.5 at this point, 9 points. The spread is super aggressive. Does this change things, seeing the injury report? The Lane Johnson one, while I don't think Jack Driscoll is doing a horrendous job by any means, it's not Lane Johnson. And when you think about what this offensive line could have been to start the season, what was it originally? It was Andre Dillard, Sayamalu, Jason Kelsey, Brandon Brooks, and Lane Johnson. That's arguably the best offensive line in the entire sport. And now you have a bunch of Band-Aids on it. And as stated, the Band-Aids haven't been the ugliest thing I've ever seen. They've struggled, though. The run game is not being effective enough. They're not doing the best in certain areas, but ultimately, they're not just getting beat 101 constantly every single play and look completely lost. There are some miscommunication issues. There are problems with the run blocking. There are issues, but, based off the fact that you are on rookies and random guys, it's not as bad as you would think. But going back to what it could have been and what it is now, it's just ridiculous. It really is. And then you had, Brandon Brooks goes down. You had Jason Peters in at right guard. You didn't know if he was going to be good by any means, but still, you throw him in there with the rest of the line being what it was, you thought you'd be all right. Andre Dillard goes down, then JP swings over. Then you had the whole Nate Herbig, Matt Pryor thing going on. It's just wild to think about the big circus happening at the offensive line spots. And once again, we enter another game where here is a crew of offensive linemen who really have no time playing together, no experience. Here you go, boom. Here you go, boom. If I'm Carson Wentz, how does this mess with the psyche? And I don't want to hear that, legit quarterbacks don't worry about that stuff. You got a bunch of mush just thrown right in front of you. You got an ex-rugby player playing left tackle. And to be fair, big man, big size, doing okay. But you just have a bunch of nothing really, nobodies right now. No established players playing, besides Jason Kelsey, playing your offensive line in front of you. You got to imagine there is a psyche thing happening with Carson Wentz inside the pocket. How do you trust those guys every time when you get hiked the ball? Now, eventually, over time, you will feel more comfortable as you get more snaps, as you understand their tendencies, and as you realize what they are as a unit. But still, that definitely plays a damn role. This is crazy. One of the big things that Mike Gill and I discussed on 97.3 ESPN is the fact that the offensive line is what it is right now, and that's not the biggest issue. one, gives credit to Stoutland and what he has done and to the guys. While it does need to be better, you give them credit, but that just shows you how pathetic the linebacker position really is. That just shows you how bad Nate Gerry really is at his job. He's not good. He's extremely bad. He is cuttable bad. When you put it in perspective of what that offensive line is and what they went through and how that's not your worst problem, well, it just tells you right there how it needs to be addressed. Like, this linebacker issue needs to be addressed. And in terms of right now, I mean, no. What are you going to do? Maybe you can find a way to patch it up and do something, but they don't value it. They don't value it. So they're not going to make a big splash for a linebacker. That's more offseason stuff, if they even do. I asked Mike Gill this. Do you think that maybe they make an organizational change with the linebacker after this year? And he doesn't think so. He thinks, no, why would they? This is who they are. This is their identity. I'm like, come on, you can't consistently watch this and think that you can just not pay linebackers. It would be crazy what the difference would be even if they just had below average linebackers. It's just like the Phillies bullpen. The Phillies bullpen was disastrous, historically bad, right? If they just had a below average bullpen, they would have been in such a different scenario. Well, if the linebackers here in Philadelphia, while they still would have got targeted because they would have been the worst position on the team, and teams would have still would have circled that position because you look for holes on the other team, below average is a lot worse than historically bad. Right now, you're getting historically bad out of the position of linebacker, and hopefully Will Parks can help play a role in that. Mark Andrews is going to have a field day. His over-under is 47.5. 47.5? You think he gets triple that? Really? I'm being dead serious. You would think someone like Mark Andrews would get triple that when it comes to this matchup. Oh, the inactive list got me going. No doubt about it. It got me going. And when it broke, we were on the air, so we had that initial reaction. Here's my concern. The disguise of Lamar Jackson when he puts the ball in someone's hands, is he going to pull it back out and go for a big run? The disguise that has and the look that it has, knowing this defense and how easily they get sucked in and how fooled they get with motion and how fooled they get with end around and misdirections and all of it, things are going to get a little tough. Football Friday. That's where I attack, how I feel about this game with the matchups and the offense versus defense and then the defense versus their offense, and I get real deep into it. So if you didn't listen to the Football Friday podcast, make sure you go back and listen to that. But when I saw that inactive list, it just gave me another sense of rage where I realized, look, this Saturday, there's so much going on that impacts this damn game. I got to get some frustration out. I got to give my damn opinion because I'm really annoyed specifically with what's happening with Desean Jackson. I can't comprehend why they lack communication skills so much. Things would be so much easier if you just told the damn truth on what was occurring behind the scenes. Thank you all so much for listening, and I will see you next time.